Well, thank you all so much for everything you've done. I have to say, in my lifetime, this nation has suffered several tragedies, but I don't think any one tragedy has affected me as viscerally as Sandy Hook. In fact, my son is here today. Lincoln was a kindergartner when that happened. My daughter was a first grader. And as I was driving home that evening, I remember the feeling of, oh my God, what if I was driving home to the news that my children had been shot, that my children were dead. And yet, as tragic as that day was, as awful as that memory is, what I see here today with this ride, with Team 26, is hope. And I think that's what I feel right now, is a real sense of hope that we can finally, in this country, get something done. Because I'll tell you, after Columbine, when we didn't enact good gun safety legislation, I sort of gave up. After Sandy Hook, when once again we did not enact gun safety legislation for our children, I kind of gave up. But I'm promising to you now, and I promised to all of you during my campaign, that I am finished with that I am never giving up on this again. So people say, well, Mikie, what if we don't pass H.R. 8 in this election, in this congressional cycle? I say, well, then we're going to keep working on it. Because we are not going to stop until we pass good gun safety legislation. And many of us were a little abashed after the tragedy that took place in Christchurch at how quickly that country was able to move forward and take care of its citizens. Take that as a lesson in our own country for how we protect our own citizens and our own children. And so people come up to me all the time and say, are parents upset about gun violence in this country? And I said, well, not only are parents upset, grandparents are upset, sisters are upset, brothers are upset, children are upset. So we as a country are coming together and working very hard to make sure that we enact the kind of gun safety legislation that this country needs. And I'll tell you, we have reason to have hope. So we in the House just passed H.R. 8. It was the first standalone piece of gun safety legislation we had put on the floor of the House in about 2 decades. It's a great bill. It's universal background checks for gun purchases with carve-outs for personal protection and hunters. It is something that 97% of Americans believe in. We have got to keep pressing forward on that. We just reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act. And that's a great act, but I'll tell you, we just made it better. Because we just added language in the Violence Against Women Act to close the boyfriend loophole, to make sure that people who are convicted of domestic abuse don't have access to firearms. The NRA came out against that incredibly strongly. They were very opposed to that addition. But I can tell you right here today, 33 Republicans voted in favor of the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act. We are developing the coalitions that it is going to take right now to come together and pass the kind of legislation we need. And we know it can't wait, because we were affected really strongly here in this district by what happened at the Tree of Life Synagogue. We have people with relatives there. We have people with relatives that were in Parkland. We have people that went to summer camps with the kids in Parkland. So we have been tied very strongly to all of these acts of violence. But I don't think I need to remind everyone here what one of my sister districts, Congressman Payne, says. He says, I don't have kids getting shot in schools. I have kids getting shot on their way to schools. So this is something we need to act on right now. Congress is working very hard. Your New Jersey delegation is working incredibly hard to pass this legislation. And I can't thank you all enough for being here. And thank you to have Bloomfield's favorite son riding back. You would have had an easier trip from Bloomfield, but thank you for having me. So now I have the honor of introducing Monty Franks. Monty is the Team 26 founder and captain. His children attended Sandy Hook Elementary School. Monty is immediate past president of both the Connecticut Bar Association and the New England Bar Association. An avid cyclist, he still competes on the road and in mountain bike and cyclocross races throughout the Northeast and Canada. So thank you so much for being here today.